Welcome to Super Neo Mega. Last week, Sega of Japan announced the Mega Drive Mini 2. Slated to release in Japan on October 27th, it'll retail for roughly $75 and come packed with 50 games, including classics like Fantasy Zone, Shining in the Darkness, and Thunder Force 4. However, what makes this successor to the company's M2 developed microconsole most exciting is that it'll also feature a variety of Mega CD titles, including the superb strategy RPG collection Shining Force CD. All told, Sega revealed 11 of the planned 50 titles, including surprises like the SVP chip-powered Virtua Racing, and Pokemon developer Game Freak's 1992 action platformer Magical Tarurudo. The most surprising announcement, however, was the inclusion of working designs in Falcom's Popful Mail, which undoubtedly threw collectors into a frenzy as they watched their investments plummet in value. With 39 games yet to be revealed for the Mega Drive Mini 2, in today's episode of Super Neo Mega, I'll be sharing some of the games I'd love to see added to its lineup. So without further ado, let's dive in. You know, I feel like I can't talk about the Sega CD without mentioning the Lunar series. When it launched in 1993, Lunar, the Silver Star, felt like a massive step forward for the RPG genre, with its wealth of voice dialogue and animated cutscenes that brought its rich fantasy world to life. And when it comes to sequels, it doesn't get much better than Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. Released in 1995, this follow-up has everything fans of the series could ever have asked for. It features hugely improved graphics, a fantastic story, unforgettable characters, and a bigger world to explore. It also offers some of the most breathtaking anime cutscenes found on the platform, with animation that leaves its predecessor in the dust. That said, if Sega hopes to include an epic adventure with the Mega Drive Mini 2, they'd be hard-pressed to top Lunar Eternal Blue. Snatcher is hardly a game that needs an introduction. Created by Police Nauts and Metal Gear mastermind Hideo Kojima, it's a gritty cyberpunk adventure. In it, you control Gillian Seed, an amnesiac who joins an elite group known as the Junkers, tasked with eradicating the Snatchers, humanoid robots who've been running amok in the city of Neo Kobe. Easily one of the most desirable games on the Sega CD, Snatcher's mature story features plenty of holy shit moments as you unravel the mystery behind the cyborg menace. And while its occasional shooter scenes are a bit bland, especially when played with the controller instead of the optional Justifier light gun, they're easy to overlook once its gripping cyberpunk narrative gets its hooks in you. If you enjoy graphic adventures like Police Nauts, or, more recently, the Ace Attorney or Hotel Dusk games, this will be one title you don't want to miss. Fingers crossed Sega will include this one on the Mega Drive Mini 2 when it releases this fall.
Oh, dear God.
Rocket Knight Adventures is a game that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Developed by Konami, it's a side-scrolling platformer where you play as Sparkster, an armor-clad opossum on a mission to rescue the princess. Armed with a sword and a jetpack, which you use to rocket through the environment, you'll battle an army of evil pigs as you soar and slash your way through 7 stages. While it may look like a cutesy mascot platformer, Rocket Knight Adventures shares some similarities to Konami's own Contra series, with its fast-paced action and monstrous bosses. That's no mere coincidence, though. The game was designed by Nobuya Nakazato, who also worked on Contra 3, The Alien Wars, and Contra Hardcore. Konami supported the original Mega Drive Mini with Castlevania Bloodlines and Contra Hardcore, and here's hoping they do the same thing to bring Rocket Knight Adventures to the Mega Drive Mini too. This is Splatterhouse 2. Developed by Namco, this Genesis exclusive follow-up to the studio's ultra-gory 1988 game once again forces the Jason Voorhees look-alike Rick to don the terror mask and confront an army of demonic creatures to save his girlfriend, Jennifer. If you've played the original game before, you'll know exactly what you're getting into with this sequel. Slowly make your way to the right and pulverize an assortment of ghastly ghouls into pulp. Most of the time, you'll be using your massive fists and feet, but you'll also find random weapons, such as 2x4s and giant bones, to help level the playing field. And let me tell you, you're going to need them. Splatterhouse 2 is a tough game to be sure, likely one of the most challenging games in the Genesis library. However, once you begin to understand what the game wants you to do, Splatterhouse 2 is a gloriously gory good time. With its over-the-top violence, there's a good chance Splatterhouse 2 might be too much to find its way on the Mega Drive Mini 2. However, given the game's current asking price, just the empty case alone will set you back over $100 these days. I'm sure those uninterested in plunking down the cash for a copy will be happy to find Splatterhouse 2 on the Mega Drive Mini 2's lineup. Like a lot of people, I didn't have my first PC until the late 90s. So when Zero Tolerance was released in 1994, it was the closest I was getting to playing Doom at my house. And while it may not hold a candle to id Software's iconic first-person shooter, it still is a lot of fun, and a great showcase for what the Sega Genesis could do. The premise is straightforward enough. Aliens have taken over a space station orbiting the Earth. You control the Planet Defense Corps, an elite group of soldiers tasked with exterminating the extraterrestrial threat. The goal of the game is to explore each area and neutralize 100% of the enemies before moving on to the next location. As you exact bloody revenge on these invaders, you'll collect an assortment of weapons like shotguns, pistols, pulse rifles, and more. Now, at first, finding all the enemies can be a real challenge, as they only appear on your radar once you encounter them. Things do become much easier, though, when you eventually obtain a bioscanner that tells you exactly where all nearby enemies are lurking. The first half of the game takes place on a space station called Europa 1. It's fine, but admittedly the drab environments do start to become a bit repetitive after a while. But things get much more interesting in the game's second half. It takes place on a towering high-rise on Earth. You'll start on the rooftop, and gradually work your way through the building and down to the sub-basements. Even today, the sense of scale is impressive, as it's just one massive area you can explore without any breaks. One thing I always thought was cool as a kid is the way you can see news reports of what's unfolding on the TVs scattered around the environment. I always loved the way the blood of your enemies would slowly drip down the walls as well. It's the little things, you know? Zero Tolerance even features permadeath, and once you've burned through the last member of your squad, it's game over. While it looks really dated now, with its tiny window and minuscule draw distance, Zero Tolerance can still be quite addicting, and I enjoy going back to eradicate hundreds of otherworldly invaders from time to time. If nothing else, it's a great example of what the Genesis could do when it comes to its scaling effects. With so few first-person shooters available for the hardware, bundling this with the Mega Drive Mini 2 would be a solid choice. Of course, a console is only as good as its multiplayer games, and when it comes to some good old-fashioned couch co-op on the Sega Genesis, it's hard to top Zombies Ate My Neighbors. Developed by LucasArts and released in 1993, the game allows players to choose between Zeke or Julie, two totally 90s teens who must rescue their neighbors from Dr. Tongue's legion of monsters. The game features 48 stages set in such everyday locales as sleepy tree-lined neighborhoods, bustling shopping malls, ancient pyramids teeming with mummies, and medieval castles filled with bloodthirsty werewolves. Okay, so maybe Zombies Ate My Neighbors isn't totally realistic, but what other game gives you the chance to morph into a giant purple monster and beat up a 40-foot tall toddler? It's okay, I'll wait. Zombies Ate My Neighbors' eclectic cast of monsters is definitely one of its highlights. You'll battle hordes of the undead, flesh-hungry werewolves, ray gun-toting Martians prowling for teenage cheerleaders, chainsaw-wielding psychos in hockey masks, and even psychotic dolls who have an axe to grind with the game's plucky protagonists. I really can't stress enough how much I love this game, though I have to confess I've never been able to beat it. Mostly because once you die or continue with a password, you'll lose all of your items, and trying to go up against the game's later stages armed with just your puny water gun or a pack of popsicles just won't get you very far. Still, while it lasts, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is an absolute riot, especially with a friend. Unfortunately, I'm bow-legged and I smell kinda funny, so nobody wanted to play with me while I captured this footage. So you'll just have to use your imagination as you watch this. And yes, I know this game isn't exclusive to the Genesis, but this is definitely the superior version, as the SNES game features a messy HUD that really hurts the experience. If you come across this game in the wild, I absolutely recommend picking it up. Once again, Konami published this one, so if they still own the rights, there's a chance we could see it arrive on the Mega Drive Mini 2 this fall. The last game I wanted to talk about today is Rise of the Dragon. Released for the Sega CD in 1993 in North America, it's another cyberpunk adventure, similar to the aforementioned Snatcher. You play as William Blade Hunter, a private investigator hired by the mayor of Los Angeles to investigate the death of his daughter, who was killed by a mysterious new designer drug.
Hey, little friend. You got a good time for me?
Blade's investigation takes him from seedy strip clubs and dingy apartments to even shadowy corporate HQs as he unravels a mystery centered around organized crime, the occult, and an ancient Chinese prophecy. If you like Snatcher, but prefer a more traditional point-and-click adventure in the vein of Shadowgate or Deja Vu, then this one's for you. You'll solve puzzles, collect keycards, and listen to a whole lot of voicemails as you try to connect the dots in this gritty mystery.
Need a good used hover car? Momar's Cars has the answer for you. Come down and check out our fine selection of new and used hover cars. I make you a great deal.
It also features some pretty intense violence, at least by 1993 standards. Look at this shady Chinese mafioso covered in drug patches as he melts into a gross puddle. There's a great story here, even if the game can be completed in just a couple of hours. You'll need to be careful though, because Rise of the Dragon doesn't hold your hand one bit. A simple mistake like forgetting to remove your ID card from your PC in your apartment before leaving can result in you being unable to ever return to your apartment again, effectively soft-locking you out of progressing through the story. The game also features some pretty gnarly slowdown during some dialogue scenes when lots of background animation's going on. But I almost feel like it adds to the charm. Yeah, I'm weird, you don't have to tell me. Still, if you can look past these issues and the absolutely atrocious run-and-gun sequences you'll have to deal with a couple of times throughout the story, you'll find an adventure well worth undertaking with Rise of the Dragon. So, why should this be on the Sega Mega Drive Mini? Because I want it to be, that's why. But seriously, it's a great example of the kind of more adult content the Sega CD was known for compared to the Genesis, and as such, I think it's a good representation of what the hardware had to offer.
Thanks a lot for standing me up last night, you jerk. I had a really special time sitting at home watching Rambo 12 in my brand new evening dress. Where in the hell were you? Out drunk in one of those god-awful pleasure domes again? You could have at least called. You'd better have a darn good excuse for standing me up, Blade.
Well, that's it. These are some of the games I'd love to see make their way to the Mega Drive Mini 2 when it releases on October 27th. What do you think of the games I featured? Additionally, what would you like to see make its way to Sega's upcoming microconsole? Be sure to sound off in the comments below and let me know. As always, this is Super Neo Mega signing out.